Hi, welcome to Victim to Victory, the authority in personal injury. I have the pleasure of having Raymond Mieszaniec with me today, who is the owner of EvenUp. And we're going to talk a little bit about his newest system, the PLAAS or PLAAS system. We'll tell you what that is because that's the newest thing EvenUp is doing. We know Ray's going to talk a little bit about how he went from a $150 million valuation to a $2 billion valuation, which is just incredible. One of the fastest growing AI companies in the world. Welcome. How are you, Ray?
Thank you for having me, Lawrence.
Tell us a little bit about what EvenUp is. How'd you get involved with EvenUp?
Yeah, I mean, it really is a full circle story, but EvenUp, just kind of to give the elevator pitch, we're a San Francisco-based tech company, started in 2019, December of 2019, but we are currently the leader in AI development for personal injury workflows, document generation, building agents, all specific to personal injury, the vertical. And it's been a wild ride. A lot of people know us from the beginning when we started. We were just, drafting demands, or we were kind of like the godfather of the AI-powered demand. And but now it's just expanded to a much larger system, a proactive system that essentially gives, lawyers, case managers, paralegals proactive insights that kind of act as levers that you need to pull to maximize the value of the claim and resolve that claim sooner from intake all the way to resolution.
Well, what passion do you have that got you involved in this industry in the first place? Coming from, I know you have a Kung Fu background, you're obviously an extremely intelligent gentleman. Tell us a little bit about your educational background, your background in the martial arts, and why you developed. You could tell a little bit, if you're comfortable with your story with your dad, why you developed and got involved in personal injury work.
Yeah, I think I'm very surprised that you found the martial arts background too. I'm so caught off guard with that, but it was such a big part of my past. But so I'm born and raised in Vancouver, British Columbia. I studied, when I went to college, I studied mathematics and economics, so dual major there. Ended up graduating and going into the world of accounting and finance. So my first job out of college was at PricewaterhouseCoopers as a cybersecurity and anti-money laundering consultant. And so did that in Hong Kong for 3 years. That's also where I started my very first company that was in education and recruitment, and essentially brought me to San Francisco to begin with. So that was in 2017. But there's a lot of stories that I could tell you, and I'd be yapping all day. But just to kind of fast forward to the origin of EvenUp and just kind of that link there, we started EvenUp in 2019, and after talking with my co-founder, one of my co-founders is a former defense attorney, so he was kind of teaching me a little bit about personal injury, how it works, and it got a light bulb going. And the reason why a light bulb kind of went off is we were having a conversation around the defense, insurance carriers having repositories, massive repositories with fun names like Colossus,
yes,
and Claims IQ. And essentially they used these massive repositories of settlement data to essentially lowball the crap out of plaintiffs and their attorneys. And when I asked him, I was like, hey, what do the good guys have? Because as a student of mathematics and economics, I thought optimization problem. If there's someone who's minimizing the value of every case, what is there to maximize the value of the case? And my co-founder said, there's nothing.
Right.
Plaintiff attorneys are typically sitting on their own data from their own law firms. They're not sharing this data with one another necessarily, unless it's like just talking about things generically over like a listserv or whatever, but everything is private and confidential. And that's where the light bulb came off, is like, we should build it. And my co-founder never really understood why I was so excited about that in that moment, just because I never shared with my friends growing up some of like the hardships that me and my sister and my family had. But over 20 years ago, about 22 years ago now, my dad woke up one morning and he was, doing his regular routine, cooked us breakfast at 4 a.m., was out the door at 5. And when he was heading to work, meanwhile, across town, there was a gunman. And this gunman shot his girlfriend, went on a high-speed police chase with 11 police cars chasing after him. And what ended up concluding that chase was my dad crossing the intersection that he did every single morning, just right at the corner of our house, and having his car split clean in half. And so that accident left my dad with a permanent disability for the rest of his life. From that moment, over the next 3 years, my parents, 2 immigrant parents, dad is Polish, mom is Chinese, not knowing what their case is worth or how the legal system even worked, they were fighting for a fair settlement and just needed money to obviously pay the bills. And what happened, which still happens so often today to many plaintiffs, is that insurance carriers deploy their delay tactics,
Sure.
try to drag things out such that the plaintiff crumbles under immense financial pressure and takes whatever is on the table. And that is essentially what happened with my parents. So they ended up walking away with around $200,000 for a family of 5 for the rest of our lives. And that was that. That was not the moment my 13-year-old self thought, like, oh my gosh, one day I'm going to start an EvenUp and I'm going to punch things that are bigger than me and go up against insurance carriers, like avenge my parents. No, I didn't become Batman in that moment. What had really happened was my parents just came to me and my sister and said, Karen, my sister, Ray, we don't have any money and we just need help. So if you guys can just work and help us bring, money in. That's where we started. My sister started a dog walking business. I was doing as many paper routes as I could at 13. Eventually, also, became more entrepreneurial, and I was selling bedding plants by buying bedding plants and hanging baskets from the farms like 3 hours away and selling them in the city, teaching people how to like plant their gardens and build their own moss baskets. But long story short, in this serendipitous journey of life, came back to that moment in the park talking to my co-founder about personal injury, now I'm a big part of solving the problem that very much was a part of creating me. So it's a full circle serendipitous moment for me.
Well, as a leader in the industry, you just came out with PLAAS. It's not brand new, but it's very new. So tell us what that is and how it can help plaintiff law firms even the playing field.
Yeah, absolutely. So just the concept behind PLAAS is, well, number one, everybody knows EvenUp. We build best-in-class, AI for personal injury. And that's what we've been doing over the past 5 years. That's what we built our name around. But oftentimes when we've been working with firms, one of the number one pain points that I would hear from firms is they're like, okay, Ray, awesome technology, great, I want to leverage it, but I don't have enough people right now to even use this technology and do all the work that there is to do here. And so, hang tight, I'll get back to you and we'll use y'all soon when we can get some people onboarded. And so that people problem is something that we've heard thousands of times now. Like we work with over 2,000 law firms across the country.
Doesn't surprise me. There's great technology out there, but if you don't have the people that can use it,
that's right.
It's a problem.
And so all of these 2,000 firms that we're working with, and I hear it every day, they're like facing turnover. And just even in the data that we see when we're observing our firms, because we see like the user accounts that we're creating and who's coming and going from the firms, we see around 20% attrition year over year with the law firms that we work with. And so there's this, there's people coming and going, but what I've observed in the data is there's usually like a cohort of very loyal, capable individuals that stick around with the firm and get the work done. So when somebody comes into the firm, they're handling 50 or 100 cases. The moment they leave the firm, that gets dumped on that loyal group of team members that hold it down for you when everything's not going right. But what happens is, those people can only take so much, right?
Sure.
And so even though those people may be your standard, that you kind of like, you want to model what a great case manager, paralegal, team member looks like, when they're overwhelmed with so much work to do, they start to break. And so we thought with PLAAS, okay, let's not just stop at giving them the best technology that they could use for handling personal injury cases, but let's give them the best people, the top 1%, case managers, paralegals that are super well versed in our technology, so we can show firms firsthand what it really looks like to wear an Iron Man suit and blast away at these problems that personal injury law firms face in terms of efficiency and throughput. And so that's pretty much it. But like PLAAS, or Pre-Lit as a Service, is the full kind of name. It's us, our people serving as an extension of your firm, no differently than any case manager or paralegal that you would hire, and we handle the cases soup to nuts from the point of intake. When you sign up a case, pass it over to us. We do the claims opening, investigations, the client communications, the medical management, record retrieval, everything, right? All the way to settlement. And it's not like a black box where you just kind of punt it over to us and you don't know how we're interacting with your clients. Again, we're serving as an extension of your team. So we have a law firm email. We're accessing whatever tools and systems you use today. So your CMS, what have you. We'll use it all, and we'll communicate with your team on a daily basis, just as if you're working with a remote worker. But
now, how many people would you have working on a given law firm? Let's say they're signing up a medium-sized firm, 50 cases a month.
Yeah. So in terms of how we model things, so our model is based off of like a cost per case. So you pay us a cost per case. But how we staff up your firm,
right.
Number one, you only get people who are dedicated to your firm. There is no world where we are giving one person to serve, GGL and then of course serve like EvenUp law, right? Because I don't want somebody calling in, one of your clients calling in, and I'm like, hi, thank you for calling EvenUp Law, and they were actually looking for GGL, right? And that's a big no-no.
You mean it's not a Regis setup?
That's right. So with that said, so one person dedicated to the firm, and each one of those individuals, we typically give them no more than 85 cases. And the reason for that is because we want them to be incredibly focused on delivering high quality case management and high quality customer service to your clients. So we're very much skewing, for the quality side of things. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's really just the exercise that you would always do, when you hire a case manager, typically. A new case manager, say, let's just assume, and I'm just going to kind of throw out averages, like you pay them $70K a year. And your assumption in terms of your modeling, you think, based off of my best case managers, my grade A team members, they're handling around 100, 150 cases a year. Let's say 150. And so you train them up, and three months later, they're able to take on a full caseload. And then you find, oh no, they can only handle half the amount of cases, right? And so they're not performing at the same level as your grade A talent, because those are unicorns.
They are.
Some of those great folks that you have at the firm are really hard to replicate. And you want to clone them, but you can't.
Yes.
And so it ends up breaking your model. And it's like, this is where I see a lot of law firms, they struggle to scale because those assumptions and stuff don't always line up with reality. And so for us, it's really like, that's the kind of, problem set that we're attacking to really help law firms be able to scale quality, as they have the ambitions to grow.
Now, with pre-litigation as a service, how long, now, in New Jersey, for example, 2-year statute of limitations, New York, 3-year in our area, Pennsylvania, 2-year. So what would be the normal time frame or time on desk, as we use in the industry, that you would hold on to a case with your PLAAS service?
Yeah, so we're seeing a majority of all of our cases resolve within the first 12 months. Of course, if there are those cases that maybe need to go into litigation or anything like that, we would of course punt that back over to your team, and then that's where you would take over. But every law firm is different. One of the things that I have observed across kind of time to resolution is that on average, we measured, because we're working with many of the largest firms in the country, we're actively managing around 2,000 net new cases a month. So a lot of cases are coming through EvenUp now. And that's just for the case management piece, the PLAAS. But we're resolving these cases on average 3 months faster than the law firms that we serve did prior to us working on their cases.
And that's very important, because not only is that great for customer service, but when you reduce time on desk, the law firm's actually making more money. It's reducing the time, efficiency, and allows them to work on other cases without hiring additional staffing.
Absolutely. I mean, the main thing is, like, a lot of folks are trying to buy time to focus on their larger cases, and then meanwhile, there might be cases that are falling through the cracks and not getting the same kind of tender loving care. And so where we focus is we focus on MVA, less than 100K in policy limits, kind of soft tissue injuries, and we make sure that every single one of those cases are worked up like your best case. Right. And the way we deploy that is through dog fooding our own technology, showing what is possible when you build AI systems around your people and measure absolutely every single SLA that you want to meet for that client. And so when we have our AI system, and we use our own tools like AI playbooks, which is kind of a way to, if you were to automate any file review that you do on a daily basis with your cases, what are those 10, 20, 30 questions that you would typically want answered on every single case? We run those automated checks. So at all times, anytime you look at the case, you see, oh my gosh, TBI detector. Yes, there is a TBI here, or commercial policy, or, even scoring these cases in terms of, like, would you grade them in terms of A, B, C, D, in terms of strength there.
We don't use A, B, C, D, because nobody wants to have a D case or a C case.
Fair enough.
Well, we actually use silver, bronze, gold, platinum, diamond. So even if you have a gold case or silver case, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we don't. That's how we grade them. But yes, I think every law firm should be grading their cases, grading their attorneys, and right case, right attorney.
100%. And so with all of these systems built around your people, and they're checking every single document that comes into the system, every call transcript, flagging the insights and the patterns that oftentimes may get missed by a human being, like on our worst day when we're reading through thousands and thousands of pages and we don't see that, there's a symptom of a TBI, X on this page and Y on this page and Z on this page, but then together it's, oh my gosh, it's triangulated a TBI. Those are the patterns that technology can help us pick up. And then that's where we can immediately, with those proactive checks, take the right actions at the right time to maximize the value of the claim or defend the value from deteriorating, and of course, resolve that case sooner. Right. So a lot of great results we've already seen in a short amount of time.
Your AI tools, we talked about, the pre-litigation. Let's talk about, does that also listen to the intake? So if somebody calls, are we also listening to the call of a new client as well?
In terms of, do we handle like the intake calls?
No. Do you monitor those as well? Because let's say somebody misses something there, a person says something about a TBI. If you have an intake person that's missing certain things and they're just bringing in the case and they don't realize, oh my goodness, this person may have a traumatic brain injury and I missed that.
1,000%. So one of the things that our technology can do is, especially if you're using, and I highly recommend like firms be using, telephony systems that allow them to record and transcribe those calls.
How's Zoom?
Zoom is fantastic. You guys on Zoom?
Yeah.
That's a good. I mean, this is not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor, but
by Zoom, but they're great.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. So they're one of our, like the best kind of partners to integrate with. But with those transcriptions coming in from Zoom, that's where you can have the AI crawl those calls and identify the patterns that may have not been noted within your CMS,
Sure.
right? Because the human just putting in whatever into the CMS, you can miss a lot of things from that call. But if
And for those listening, if you don't know what CMS is, that's your case management system. Everybody uses different ones. There's a ton out there. Smart Advocate, Filevine, Litify. There's a lot of good case management systems out there.
Yeah. And so like just making sure that, again, you have a second line of defense. That's the way I like to put it, is if AI can try and essentially follow your methodology in terms of grading the cases, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, what have you, if it can run that same audit check that your human went through or your teammate went through, essentially it might give you a result that might surprise you. Maybe you accepted a case and it identified that you should have rejected the case because of like these liability issues or anything like that, or vice versa, of course, where it might have identified a case that you rejected that you should have accepted. That's actually oftentimes what I find a lot of our firms catching, because the kind of like the common story I hear is they're like, we rejected this case, or we ended up referring this case out, and I just got a referral check in the mail for $300,000, Ray. What the how did we reject that case?
Right.
Happens more often than you think.
Yeah, that's not good. All right, what's going on now in the legal industry? It's been happening in the medical industry, the MSOs. What is your opinion regarding MSOs, which is a managed service organization? It's basically private equity coming into the legal community, not actually buying a law firm, but buying an entity that runs everything except the practice of law in a law firm. For example, they would be dealing with HR, marketing, but they would not tell a lawyer how to practice law, almost like your Concentras in the medical field, where they're not practicing medicine, but they're running all the operations of a business. So what's your take on the MSOs that are coming in hard now? We've had over 30, we were talking before, we've had over 30 phone calls from private equity firms in the last 3 months.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because if I were to think back literally 18 months ago, I was standing on stage at our very first customer summit, and I was super, super nervous speaking in front of our, 200 of our customers that came out. And I stood on stage and I was worried about how they would receive this. But I basically said on stage that, hey, everyone, in the next, 12, 24 months, you will see private equity coming into the space to compete with the likes of traditional law firms. Right. And then fast forward to now, they're already here. Like it went from people coming up to me after that presentation, and they said, Ray, is this really going to happen? And then now here, like, we already know of so many acquisitions that have happened. Now, I think the thing that scares people or kind of spooks people in the industry is they think, oh, wow, big private equity companies, immense amount of capital, right? They have kind of connections with technology and marketing and all sorts of kind of great resources there. And then they have great capable people, smart people that are coming in to try and figure this out and compete with y'all. How do we stand a chance? And I actually think that, how do I put it? The game is still anybody's at this point, because private equity companies still have to come in and understand everything that you've learned over many, many years of practicing law and understanding how personal injury operations actually work before they can, of course, apply some of their knowledge in terms of how to scale, et cetera. And so the way I kind of think about it is like, if you can learn how to modernize your operations faster than they can learn the art of personal injury, that's where it's like, again, it's anybody's game.
Sure.
And so that's why I'm a big proponent of like, hey, like the it's not doomsday, but you should operate with the urgency as if the sky is falling tomorrow. Look around you in terms of the technology that exists, right? And the capabilities that it could bring to your firm in terms of like introducing new efficiencies or essentially eliminating a lot of the waste that I do believe that exists within law firm operations, there's a lot of areas where things are slipping through the cracks. AI systems can help catch those things. So I'm more of an optimist. I'm very much one of the most optimistic people you'll ever probably meet. But that said, I think one of the things that I really do want to point out, though, is like private equity coming in this space. There is kind of a pro here where I think for a long time, when we've seen tort reform happen in various states, it's largely been driven by these big defendant like entities.
It's the insurance companies are funding
lobbying.
They have such a lobbying power because they're billion-dollar corporations.
Correct. So they're lobbying for laws that are unfavorable to the consumer and hurting the consumer.
Right.
And for the longest time, it's just been trial lawyers fighting with their war chests, putting their own dollars into the fight to try and combat these billions of dollars. That it's really just it's so
it's very unfair. It's
unbalanced
to the point where the New Jersey trial lawyers are now called the New Jersey Association of Justice because it's more important to fight the lobbyists for the insurance company just to keep the laws fair or as fair as we can get them on the books. But now you're talking about private equity coming in is going to help us even the playing field.
So I think with technology and we were kind of a big impetus for this, but like us coming into this space, building, these AI companies and essentially getting more eyes on the PI kind of sphere, it helps us bring in capital and people who essentially will invest in the space and actually give, I don't want to swear, give a crap of what is happening to consumers' rights, right? And so when we see, and this is kind of like maybe I'm naive in terms of how I'm thinking, but I just hope that with all this money coming into the space, that when they see some tort reform that's coming through and consumers are going to be hurt in a way, that these big private equity companies and VCs look at that, what is happening, and they say, oh my gosh, if this happens to the consumer and this happens to, this is how it kind of trickles down to my bottom line investments in these law firms, et cetera, I need to do something about it.
Right.
And that's where we see, hopefully action like what we saw in a Prop 22 in California, where it was like the gig economy workers and stuff like.
Well, and then you have the battles right now going on against Uber, with Uber trying to reduce the insurance coverage that they have significantly.
Yeah, like trying to cap the your ability to recover on medical expenses, as well as cap the attorney fees, which, of course, from a consumer perspective, they're like, oh, yeah, cap the attorney fees and all that stuff. And that's the narrative that Uber wants to lean on. But what they're really trying to obliterate or eliminate completely is the contingency fee system even existing. The specific, only pay if you win, system that allows people to even access justice in the first place. If they eradicate that, if they're successful in terms of capping both attorney fees and medical expenses under 25%, it means that lawyers will never be able to, run, or run law firms or take on personal injury cases.
Because the consumer wouldn't be able to afford it.
Exactly.
How do you afford a top lawyer that's going to charge you $800, $1,000 an hour to go after a case that's going to take hundreds upon hundreds of hours? It would have to be a massive case, and it would be so limited to people that just have an incredible amount of money that they could actually go after a personal injury case. And that's what they're trying to eradicate.
That's exactly, I can't imagine, my parents would never have been able to afford that. We didn't have any, I remember so, it's so vivid. I remember after my dad's accident, and I remember my mom was struggling to find work too, because something happened at her company, and then people got laid off. And I remember us sitting on my bed in my childhood bedroom, me, my sister, my parents, and we were crying because we didn't have money to afford dinner. We didn't have anything in the fridge. We didn't have money. And what my dad did, I remember he went into the bedroom and he dug through his drawer and he found $100 gift card, a gift certificate to a nearby steakhouse that we got at a Christmas party.
Right.
And so he's like, get in the car. We get in the car. We go to the steakhouse, and my dad ordered just whatever he could get for that $100. And we all just split it.
Right.
But like, how could we have like, I don't know how we would be able to afford like $800 an hour or anything like that for a personal injury claim in the future there. So that's where I really do believe that's a big fight that we're in the thick of. We all, have our part in terms of fighting against it and making sure that these corporations that have literally no business in consumers' rights, like they shouldn't meddle with that. They shouldn't have any say. It's crazy.
Well, it's nice to have a company like yours and a great mind like you and your team to help the plaintiff bar. It's great, and help the consumer to fight against the huge insurance companies.
I say it all the time. Again, like especially as we came into the space 5 years ago, where, like we were told time and time again by venture capitalists that this was the dumbest idea in the world, and the only people that believed in us was the attorneys that we serve, when they said, hey, this is actually very helpful. And they bet on us when we were just, a founding team of 3 people. Now we're standing strong at 700 employees. And we get to do this because of that bet that, the original very first attorneys made on us. And so it is literally our duty to stand beside our audience and fight against, egregious kind of reforms like this. And my co-founders and I even have donated personally as well as through the business over $500,000 to this fight. And so that is where, whenever this is happening, it's like, it would be very off-brand for us to not be trying to level the playing field here. After all, we're called EvenUp, right?
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. You've grown and scaled so much. $2 billion company now. Where do you see yourselves going in the future? And how are you going to expand any more? Not only with various firms, but are you going to expand the AI capabilities that you currently have?
Yeah, there's a lot of plans. It's like kind of like the PLAAS stuff, how I mentioned. PLAAS, we announced it 2 weeks ago, but it's something that we've been running for law firms for the past 6 months, right? And being able to kind of manage that volume of cases already up until this time.
Right.
We're kind of, there's a pattern in terms of how we operate. We're always building things in the background. We operate in stealth, and we essentially bring things to the table once we've really kind of demonstrated the ROI it can bring to firms. We're not big on like pre-announcing something and selling you something that we haven't even tested ourselves. Sure. That's exactly why. That's why I love PLAAS, because it's like, when I work with a law firm and they're like, Ray, I used your technology and I didn't really see that it made a difference. And I'm like, how did you use it? Because look at my team using it.
Yeah.
Look at the results they're getting. They're like 95% of their cases, they're tendering for policy limits. They're resolving this for 3 months sooner. And so in the future, you can expect there's a lot of stuff in store.
Right.
Maybe I can come back and share it when we announce it.
I'd love to have you come back.
But everything that we do, again, it will still have the same underlying theme of, we always want to do everything that we can as an extension of you, through the trust that you give us to serve your clients. We want to help each and every one of your clients maximize the value of the claim and get that money sooner so that they can live the best lives possible post that accident. And I only say possible because it's typically impossible for them to get back to the same kind of quality of life that they had before the accident.
I would say 99% of the people would take their health over the money every time, especially those that are gravely injured. So if somebody, not that I want any other personal injury firm in the country to use you, but if they are interested in hiring your services, how do they find EvenUp, and how do they find you?
I mean, I'm very, very responsive by my email. I think I've kind of shot myself in the foot in the past, where I've given my phone number on some podcasts, and I've really got a lot of spam. Yeah. But that said, if anyone wanted to ever reach out, Raymond at EvenUpLaw.com. or just reaching out or through our website, www.evenuplaw.com. There's a whole kind of overview of our products, our services, customer stories that you can see of like how they've actually deployed our technology and seen real value. So those are probably some of the good methods. And of course, on Instagram, if you can spell my last name, it's literally just my last name that you'll find me.
Before we call it a day, we've talked about a lot. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we leave here today?
I don't know, Lawrence. What I think all I'll say is this, especially with again, we were talking about like the upsurge of kind of private equity and capital coming to the space, the MSOs, the ABSs. I honestly think if you're watching this and you either have a firm you're operating or you're thinking of starting a firm, should you have the ambitions to grow and become, the biggest firm in your city, your state, or nationwide, there is no better time to build that firm, build that presence, and help people in need, because there's no shortage of cases. And I do think that actually there's a lot of cases that are not going represented. Right. But you have everything around you in terms of the technology and services like ours that offers the people to get your firm off the ground and scale your operations with a high degree of quality on every case, making sure that every case is treated like your best case. And so my final words, Lawrence, is you have no excuses. Everything's around you. You got great people around you, great teams. We're hungry to help, and so we're ready to serve just as long as you want to call upon us.
Thank you, Ray. Ray with EvenUp, he gave you his connection, how to get to him. The fastest growing AI company in the United States in the legal industry, helping plaintiffs and the consumers battle against the multi-billion-dollar insurance companies. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you so much for having me, Lawrence.
My pleasure.